Young soldiers recently returned to Fort Dix, New Jersey from Vietnam. Here's how they feel about war and fighting.
Before I volunteered, I had doubts as to why we should be there. At first, I thought we were fighting somebody else's war, until I actually got over there and I stopped and I saw what was going on and I started thinking, well, these people could never make it on their own. And that's when I, developed more or less my attitude of us as the largest, most powerful free nation in the world. It is our obligation.
One thing I don't really care too much for is death. I don't like to be associated with it, as far as even back to family funerals and wakes and so forth. I don't even like to go to them. But when I got to Vietnam, of course I was still scared. I was scared for myself, and I didn't want to see anyone get hurt. But those things happen, and when I first got over there, one of our companies got hit in a sapper attack. It was our duty. We had to go and help offload some of the wounded and the dead. And the wounded were wounded bad, but it didn't bother me as much to help them. But they've got these plastic or rubberized body bags, and some of the bodies were in those, and I think the hardest thing was to grab onto one of those and carry it away, knowing that there was somebody in there, and that was a hard thing for me to get used to. But I think most people over there, after they've seen it a few times, you more or less build yourself up an immunity to it, and you just look at it as one of the necessary evils. It's got to happen, and I found myself thinking later on towards the end, where if I saw a situation like that, I'd say to myself, well, I'm sorry, but it's better him than me, and more or less build up a shell around myself to this.
Well, I don't believe in war in any way, shape, or form. Because war is usually the product of one man or one country trying to dominate the people of another country. And the Communist Manifesto, I believe, states that sometime in the future that the entire world will be under communism. And I just can't see where they have the right to move into a country and say, we are now your rulers. And as of now, they are working towards total world domination, and I, for one, do not intend to be dominated by them. And that is, among other reasons, one of the reasons I'm a professional soldier, so I can do my part or whatever I got to do to help stop this spread of communism.
If you felt that this war was wrong, would you still go?
Well, I'll go in a minute, and if I had to go, I'll go again. It's a part of my job as a soldier in the United States Army.
What if you thought the Army shouldn't be there?
The Army should be there. The President of the United States said, be there. I'm ready to go anytime.
The policies are all formulated by people who, in this type of matter, are far above me in knowledge and experience. And, well, who am I to question with somebody with the experience and knowledge that these people have?
Can any of you guys think of at what point you would stop obeying? At what point you would stop obeying? At what point?
I think that I would stop obeying orders if the orders given were, number one, prejudicial to the best interests of the country. Number two, were suicidal, served no purpose. If this was readily apparent, such as 50 men attacking 1,000 or something like this, but I think those are about the only two circumstances.
How would you know, though, if they were going to be beneficial to the country or not? You just said before yourself that who were you to question?
You know, not all orders are obeyed immediately, of course. Those that have to be obeyed immediately, I would follow without question because you don't have time. Mm-hmm. But something that would give me time to think, if my own mind I could see where it would definitely be detrimental to the welfare of this country, mm-hmm. and which would have to be very obvious for me to think of it. Mm-hmm. I don't know as if I'd outright refuse. I would question it first and see if somebody had a solid answer as to why.
I was married 9 days before I left for Vietnam, and so that was on my mind quite a bit. And I decided to play a little game when I came home. I checked through my family just to see how much they've been watching or listening to or reading up on what's going on now. And it seemed like after I got home, they lost all interest. And I think that's the trouble with a lot of the people in the United States today. If they're not directly involved in it or involved through someone else, it's not hurting their way of life any. as far as war goes, war is it's not a nice thing, and but like I say, I think it's a necessary evil. Just some things just can't be settled just by sitting down and talking about them. I don't think anybody wants to hurt anybody. I know I don't myself. When you're in a situation like that in Vietnam, it's the same thing as the law of the jungle. It's if you want to come home bad enough, there's just some things you're gonna have to do. If you're a nice guy, you're a loser in a war. That's it.